Morning, everyone. I just wanted to say before we officially get going here, I just wanted to kind of tell everybody, and make a statement for our guys that those guys are absolutely crushed. They're embarrassed and really hurt with what happened out on the field on Saturday, and in no way was that a reflection of their preparation or how hard they played. So I just want everybody to know that. I mean, it was a really difficult Sunday, and all those kids had really high expectations for what was about to happen on Saturday, and obviously those things didn't come to fruition. But in no way they were going for it, and they put it all out there on the line, and definitely were going trying to win the football game at all costs. So just want everybody to know that.
And as you look to bounce back against the Lobos here, Coach, how healthy is this offense, and what's it going to take to get back to that team that's been scoring 35 points a game before the 14 the other night?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some things that are going to have to get squared away early in the week. Obviously losing Bula Schmidt early in the football game with a lacerated thumb, hurt us pretty quickly. And then Matt Smith, our next center, got hurt as well, and was out for a while with a knee injury. So definitely got to shore those things up. Alex Akinbulu was battling as well, and then not having Dante Atkins. So we're definitely beat up front, and have to figure out some answers pretty quickly. And the good thing is none of those situations are season ending, and we feel we can get those guys back and are hoping to get them all back. So we'll just have to see how the week goes and if they can get cleared. I feel like Jordan Mims is, every day getting a little more healthy. He was probably a little more beat up than people thought going into the game. Luckily, Ronnie was feeling really good and obviously running really well, so that was a blessing. He was ready to go, and feel like those two will both be full force for the first time in a long time for the game, so that'll be good. And then Cropper played really well and had no ill effects, so he looked healthy as well. So if we can get the guys up front squared away, I feel good about it.
And maybe not every penalty is under your control. Some are subjective, but there were some that are definitely under your control. How do you make sure you don't have another double-digit penalty game?
Oh man, I mean, it starts with the false starts and the easy ones. Those are the ones that are situations that our guys at this point in the season should be able to take care of themselves. I thought the one on Josh, Josh is trying to make a play in run game when Ronnie breaks a big run, and it was a penalty. I mean, he was really close. He had his hands on. He took him immediately off. And it was a tough call, and a kid trying to play hard. And that was kind of a microcosm of our night. What I was referring to earlier is it was never guys not playing hard. Almost trying too hard at times. So I just got to do a good job of just making the play that's given to us and not press. So those are some of the messages that I know offensively, and then even Coach DeBoer talking about things, just understanding that we just got to play within our framework, and then some of those mistakes won't happen.
Coach, I know you guys want to focus on the win this Saturday, but it's also senior day. I'm curious if you can reflect on the careers of some of these guys, like Ronnie Rivers, who came in and has really seen it all.
Yeah, it should be a special day. It's exciting thinking about Jordan and Ronnie, Juan Rodriguez, Alex Akinbulu, Carrick Wheatfall. There's a lot of football games under the belt for those guys, and have had really, really special careers. All the guys from different angles, and probably some of them from different entry points as far as when they got into the program, and just the impact that all those kids have made. Ronnie obviously is the guy that stands out the most at this point, is just, with all the records and things like that. And I think it's interesting too, because I mentioned Jordan before, and Jordan actually technically has another year left, and we're planning on him coming back. So we won't be letting him go on the field for senior day. He'll be with us on the sideline. But Carrick Wheatfall, I think about him and just some of the struggles he had, with injuries and things like that, and now coming out to really kind of coming into his own his senior year, and special seeing that, because we always knew the talent that he was. And then Alex Akinbulu, just transformative process he's had as a player since he transferred here from UCLA and really becoming, what we think is one of the better tackles in the league and a leader on our offense. And then Matt Smith, who's played in and started a lot of football games for this team and been, kind of a voice of, knowledge and wisdom for our guys on a lot of different fronts. So there's a ton of good things. And Juan Rodriguez, I think, is, for a couple years now just kind of been the enforcer on offense. I mean, and when we're looking for, a physicality play, we're looking to 80. So he's been amazing. I can still remember going up and recruiting him up at Butte College. And just when I met him, just seeing him play on the practice field and just he was awesome. That personality comes out a lot. So we'll be missing him.
Coach, you mentioned regarding this past game that it didn't reflect the preparation. Was there something that stands out as to why that was beyond simpler things like turnovers and sacks?
Yeah, I think that there was what I mentioned to the guys was I felt like it was not an effort situation as far as when they were trying to get ready for the game. But there was some consistency issues, and when guys are coming in and out of the lineup, we have to be mature enough to understand, like, this is what it looks like with this guy, this is what it looks like without this guy in the lineup. And that was definitely happening throughout the week as far as in preparation. And, that was one of the things I think that just kind of jumpiness to practice, was showing up. The week before, San Diego State week, we actually had kind of a rough Thursday. And there was a lot of ownership by the offensive guys to get things fixed and, really have a mindset that we're going to have a great football game. And I don't know that, we had a bad practice this last Thursday, but there was just a couple days where there was, not quite clicking on all cylinders. The effort was there, like I mentioned, but just getting behind the guys that are stepping into new roles. So we just got to be ready for that and do a better job with that.
Also, you mentioned Jordan Mims' status, and Coach DeBoer discussed it after the game, but there still seems to be kind of a disconnect from the fan who saw him run for over 300 yards and didn't see a visible injury to whatever his status was Saturday. Could you provide a little more context?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go into specifics on Jordan's injury, but I think that, I did mention it last Monday, just talking about the physicality of the two games that Jordan played in. And when you tote the ball 50 times in games like that, there's a toll that's being, paid, and especially when Ronnie's not there to take some of those carries and just the style of running, especially in the San Diego State game. You don't see it because it doesn't really happen until after the game where you become sedentary and, things start to swell up and it gets pretty hard to move around. And that's something that Jordan, that should be a compliment to him on how he played through it versus what he wasn't able to do afterwards. So, it was, like I said, I think we were lucky that Ronnie was healthy and, that putting Jordan out there, it's very similar when you think about what happened with Ronnie in the San Diego State game where he wasn't able to go, and Jordan in this last game where, it would be a little bit irresponsible on our part to put a guy out there that's not 100% and risk furthering injury and the remainder of the season when we have a back that's healthy and can go. So I thought we did a good job of managing that situation, had the guy out there that was 100% and took care of Jordan, protected him a little bit.
And regarding New Mexico, what are you seeing from their defense as far as their progression from last year to this year, and how similar it is to the San Diego State defense you saw 2 weeks ago?
Rocky Long. Mm-hmm. It's the same stuff and then some. I think Rocky's even more aggressive. Coach has been doing a long time, and I think there's some familiarity as far as some of the structures, but there's also some wrinkles that Coach has in there that only he can do, and we'll have to be ready for all those. I think when you look at a team like New Mexico, you might be tempted to just look at the record. If you watch the football game and look at the number of TFLs and problems that they've caused for some good football teams, I think they would see the difficulties that their defense presents, and we'll have to be on all cylinders to beat these guys. And I think that our guys look back that, for the most part, this is the same defense that they played last year and lost to. And so I think that challenge for the guys is exciting, and that might not have been, the sexiest thing for them to think about on Sunday. But I think as they're strolling into the office and coming in to talk and things like that going into today, I think it's exactly the challenge that they need and that they'll be, ready to take on.
The offensive line suffered some issues with pass protection and overall. How would you rate their performance on Saturday, and what do you think were some areas where you saw them underperform?
Yeah, 5 sacks is never the day you're looking for up front when you're trying to, get back in a football game, especially when you're losing and having to throw the football a little bit. And, the protection piece was not our finest day. I do think that 2 of those were on Jake, and if he was sitting here, he would own that. Both in a check or a decision that he made as trying to get the ball down the field when he had another throw available to him, and Jake does a good job with ownership on things like that. But there's still some easy things that they weren't all pressure situations. They were simple one-on-one matchups that we lost, and a couple of them were just twists and things that we've been able to handle during the year. But as soon as you lose your center and you start mixing guys into there, things can get tricky quick. So we got to be able to adjust and be ready for situations like that a lot better. Just one guy coming in shouldn't affect us so much.
And how important was Tell the Truth Sunday yesterday? Because after your last loss, you had a whole bye week to really, go over that loss to Hawaii. Now you have 4 days to the next one. So how important was yesterday in terms of getting this team over Boise State and focused on New Mexico? Yeah,
Coach DeBoer said it right after the game, and it's, it's a cliched saying, but I think it's really true. You can't let Boise beat you twice. And I think our guys are mature enough, and we have enough older guys to recognize that. And honestly, in some ways, it's better to have to get right back in the horse. Letting it, sit and fester, and that can be almost as tough when you have that bye week. And we didn't feel like there was anything after watching the film that was earth-shattering, that, man, we can't do this, or, we don't have the answers for that. I think our guys know that we do have the answers and that they're capable of making those plays. So I think in a lot of ways it's good. Just let's get back at it, get back to work. You need to flush that as fast as humanly possible. And again, seeing some of the key guys that have come by the office today already, they're absolutely ready to do that and eager to get back at it. And, there's a proud group of guys. Those are some proud Bulldogs, and they're not going to let their heads hang down. They'll be ready to battle next Saturday.
Coach, knowing the situation with Ronnie and with Jordan, and I know Malik Sherrod got in a couple of carries there towards the end of the game, were you surprised, though, that based on the run game the previous 2 games, that you weren't able to exploit a weak Boise State run defense? Yeah,
I think that we could have more, if I'm being honest, had we not gotten off to a little bit of a slower start and the turnovers. Technically, our first 2 drives, we turned the football over. We didn't convert on a 4th and 2, and then we throw an interception, and all of a sudden it's 10-0, and the game's clicking along. So I thought that our ability to establish a run could have been a little bit better, but the inconsistencies early on hurt us a little bit. So I think that piece, coupled with our third down struggles, 3 of our 5 penalties came on third down. We had a couple open throws that we missed on third down that didn't allow us to stay on the field and continue generating some of those first and second down run opportunities. So I didn't think it was necessarily that Boise was shutting us down as much as it was ourselves shutting ourselves down. And those are things we got to just do better on the execution of our offense. And we do have the ability to run the ball. And I think in the second half, a few things did show up with Bula out that made things a little bit challenging, that we couldn't get to some of our run scheme without him in there. And those are things that made it a little bit tougher. But nevertheless, I think with 20 back there, you got to be able to get that run game going.
You mentioned that you're hoping to get both Bula and Matt Smith back for this game on Saturday. How do you split the reps in practice this week?
Well, I think you start with the health, right? You see who's the healthiest guy right out the gate on Tuesday, because there's a huge body of work that's done, in those first 2 days, and especially when you're talking about base down opportunities. That's where your base run install happens early in the week, and you got to make sure that you're your centers are squared away on that. So I think that'll be a big piece of it, and then we can adjust the lineup from there.
Nobody's asked you specifically about Jake yet. How is he doing? I mean, he took a lot of shots again. How is he doing physically, and how is he doing, mentally, emotionally after the loss where he struggled? Yeah,
he's good physically. There was nothing worse than it was before, and if anything, he's probably a little healthier. Most of the shots he took, he was able to roll out of, so he was in pretty good shape there. I think emotionally it definitely took a toll on our best guys, and I mentioned before, talking with specifically Jake, Jordan, Ronnie, and Crop and Kells. Those are the first guys off the top of my head, but just all of them were pretty emotional, afterwards and just really upset. And a lot of times by Sunday, kids can respond a lot faster than coaches typically. They can get over that hump pretty fast, and even seeing some of the guys on Sunday and where they were at with things was tough to see. So Jake, I don't think is any different, but by today he'd come up to watch some extra film, and he was already ready for the next challenge. So he's a resilient kid, and I don't think he will let one team beat him twice. I think if we look at what happened after the Hawaii game, I think Jake bounced back and got even more locked in. So I would expect the same from him this week.
Was there any particular reason why one of the backups didn't get in late third quarter, early fourth quarter when the outcome was pretty one-sided? Jalen, Logan, one of those guys? Yeah, there was. We're always trying to be protective of guys' redshirt opportunities, and they have 4 games. So just trying to be smart with that, with the number of games we have left. And we're close to being in a situation where it won't matter, but didn't want to bring a guy in for 2 series and waste a game out of his redshirt opportunity. So Logan and Jalen are both under that 4-game limit right now, so we're trying to keep them at that if possible. If not, they are both ready to play and have to do what we have to do.
Do you have any more questions for Coach Brown?
What do you think about the crowd?
The crowd was awesome. The crowd was awesome, and we felt like coming out there, and the kids did too. The kids were unbelievably appreciative of the red wave, and we just felt like that thing was a tinderbox ready to go off at any second, and we had a couple moments where we got them into it pretty well, but it was amazing. In my 5 years here, that's the best crowd I've seen. So it was pretty fun. I think that just made the loss hurt that much more, because they were disappointed they couldn't put out for those guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Coach.
How y'all doing today? Very good, very good.
Over here, Coach. So Coach Grubb sat down. He had a message that he just wanted to share. Is there anything that you would just like to share in general about how the defensive players are feeling after this one?
Our players are eager. As a matter of fact, when they came in yesterday, they were hoping and wishing that we could practice yesterday. And we know by hearing some of those messages, seeing how much they want to come in and study film and clean up the picture, that is a great feeling and a great sound to be able to hear coming from our players.
So with Tell the Truth Sunday, what told you guys the truth on the defensive side? Where do you feel like are the biggest areas that you need to improve based on what happened on Saturday?
The biggest thing is being able to make the plays we're supposed to make. You'll see a lot of the times we actually had someone in position and did not have a chance to make our play or have the opportunity to make our play. That's, in a sense, what the game came down to. And also, when you have the ability to hit the field, you have to be able to stop the surge. That's what playing on defense is all about. You come on as a fireman. You put the fire out. You get the ball back for the offense as fast as possible. A couple scenarios occurred like that, and we didn't have a chance to be able to make our plays.
The running by Helani was methodical, successful, et cetera, whatever word you want to use to describe it. How do you close up those holes so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, just making sure the guys get downhill faster and everyone fits where they're supposed to be. The one thing we talk about, if you ask anyone on defense, we know our goal is to make sure we have a no-crease defense. So he was able to hit a few seams on us, and it's our job to make sure that we get it better and get it right.
With David Perales out for the first half against New Mexico, who fills that gap? Who do you slide in there?
Well, for us, we got that philosophy of the next man in. So the next dog is going to be ready, whether it's, I would assume that, as you probably think, it's going to be Kwame Jones. So we'll be able to be ready. The dogs will be able to hunt on Saturday.
We didn't see Kwame on Saturday. Are you feeling confident he'll be able to go this week?
Yes. As of right now, but I think, as we get closer to kickoff, we'll know a whole lot more.
There was a point early in the fourth quarter, you had only, in terms of the final score, it had only been 26 points to that point, and usually that's enough for this offense to win games.
Yep.
Was there a feeling that the defense, what was the assessment of the defense overall? Did it feel sufficient for most of the game, or was there a lot to learn from?
Well, there's a lot to learn from. The biggest thing that we looked at is you want to make sure you finish the football game. And just you're saying where it was 20-26 or whatever, and we end up giving up two scores late, we got to finish the football game. And when we get on the football field, we got to give the ball back to the offense. So that's where we have to make sure that we're better in making those improvements and doing our jobs exactly the way it's supposed to be done.
And regarding New Mexico's offense, can you give us a little bit of a scouting report of what you're seeing from them?
Yes, a high potent offense, seeing some evolution over the last couple of games with the quarterback kind of getting injured, another quarterback coming into the game. So initially you were seeing a lot of your no-huddle spread, kind of put the ball around in some RPO things. As of late, you're starting to see them get back to some of the spread triple option games. So we just got to make sure that we do a great job of being able to defend all the edges of our defense and all the center of our defense in the option games. And that's all about discipline. And we feel as though discipline has to be our strong suit for this football game.
Coach, New Mexico's head coach, Danny Gonzalez, said after the game that they're pretty one-dimensional at the moment in terms of running the football. Do you feel like you're seeing kind of the same thing as you prepare for this team?
Well, when you say one-dimensional, as in they only run the football, or you're only seeing one kind of run?
That's kind of what he was saying, is that they only run the football.
Yeah, well, that is one thing that you are seeing and they've been efficient being able to run the ball as well. So we have our time and our task cut out for us. We got to be able to be great being able to get in and stop the run and put our big boy pads on.
And you've faced backup quarterbacks in the past this season, looking at Hawaii, getting their backup thrown in there. Who are you kind of preparing for New Mexico, given that we're not really sure who they're going to throw out there?
Yeah, the two guys that you've seen on film have been 6 and 11. So that's kind of what we're anticipating as of right now.
Coach, you've got some seniors who are going to be playing their last game in the stadium. What do you think about when you consider those faces you've got to know the last couple of years?
The one thing you want to be able to do is do everything in your power to make it a memorable moment for them and something that we told them, let's say even my experience. The one thing I'll never forget was my senior year. Your senior game, the last game you have at home, you'll never forget the plays, you'll never forget the moments, you'll never forget the scenarios that happened. And just trying to show them examples of how critically important it is. Because sometimes, they just don't know because they're literally caught up in the moment of today. But it's going to be a great sight and a great sound to be able to send these seniors and have a chance to send them out on a great note.
And big picture-wise, sometimes when you have a game like that where you want so badly to perform, you've got a sold-out crowd, the game doesn't go the way you want it to go, there can be a lingering effect. There can be fracturing or division or loss of focus. What gives you confidence that this team will stay together and keep its focus in the right place?
Just knowing how we're built. It's all about development. So sometimes, as we told our guys yesterday, the game and life is going to be about peaks and valleys. When you're in a valley at some point in time, the way you get out of the valleys, you got to make sure you get right back to work so you can climb back up. And seeing how our guys came in yesterday, the message was sent immediately from Coach DeBoer as well as from some of the guys on the football team as to what we have to do and what we must do in order to be able to get ourselves back on track.
Any more questions for Coach Inge?
I know last year there was a lot of things going on that were out of your guys' control against New Mexico, but is there any extra motivation for your players that were available to get back this game against them?
Well, yes. On one end, that for them a year ago, being their last game, Jackson, it's something that they won't forget. And in a sense, them beating us kind of made their season. And for us, we take that personal. So we have to make sure that we do everything in our power to make sure that we don't allow that to happen again.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you. Go Dogs.
Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate y'all.
All right. Just want to make sure you get the numbers right so you can kind of follow along. I hear a lot of senior talk. We have, right now, we have 17 seniors on the team, 15 that are on scholarship. And I think 10 of those guys are technically starters right now. And so it's a great group. It's a group that ton of class, ton of integrity. You hear the response Coach Grubb and Coach Inge talk about with our team. The hurt going along with the understanding that all you can do is get back up and go fight. That starts with these guys. And so big week for them, big week for us to get back on track. Obviously we've had a chance to watch the film, and if there's questions that maybe have come up since Saturday, certainly here to answer those.
Well, and you just hit on it. You hit on it after the game. It was the first sellout in 7 years, and there's some fans who don't come every game, and they're saying, I came, and that's the result I got. What do you say to those fans that are saying, when am I coming back?
Yeah, honestly, that kills us more than anything. Kills us as a whole team. I don't want to say coaches. I don't want to say players. Man, there's just I heard appreciation by Coach Grubb being used. That was awesome, and it was awesome to feel throughout the course of the week, kind of what was going to happen and the support, and it's unfortunate, and we're as disappointed as anyone that we couldn't take advantage of it in a way where it would continue to build, and I hope what overall is still seen by the Red Wave and by those that, like you said, maybe haven't been to a lot of games is the makeup of these guys, and you can still feel like who they are as far as it's a team, it's a group that's a team first, stick together type group, and they'll get back up and fight. That's one thing they'll do, and they were fighting on Saturday. We just could not get over the hump that just seemed to just always be right in front of us. And you make a play, and then 3 plays later, with the momentum kind of on your side, maybe it was a penalty or something that would go against us. The guys kept battling through it. I think even going in the fourth quarter, I really feel like there was nothing but belief that we have what it takes. And your confidence gets shattered a little bit right away after the game. But I think yesterday we got back and just really talked about, hey, we're still this team, and let's understand and give you the feedback on what happened, and let's get it fixed and keep moving forward.
And the first thing you said after the game was, that you can't let Boise State beat you twice. So how do you make sure that doesn't happen? Is there something you have to be intentional about with the way you prepare this week to make sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, it's all got to be positive and energy and understanding and just having perspective on you can only worry about what you can control. And we control what happens in practice tomorrow and what our mindset is. And we can't worry about, a fan that may not come back because of what you just said, where they were disappointed. All we can do is worry about playing some really good football and keep building. Our program has got a great foundation, not just because of what we're doing this year or last year, but because of what it's done for decades. And, we're excited about that, and we want to continue to build on that tradition, and there's still big games left to be played. This is a big game for us, and the next one will be bigger again. And I think also just understanding that we're still not out of the race. We don't have it in our control as far as what the championship picture looks like. But let's make sure we're not in a spot where we're really regretting it here in 2 or 3 weeks, because some of those teams got to play each other yet, and all it takes is one more loss, and we'll be right there.
And, it's not a good use of anyone's time to go back and look at all the penalties under a microscope, although I'm sure you guys do look at that. Since David Perales was brought up earlier, that was one of the calls that it looked from body language. That was one of a few calls that you didn't necessarily agree with at the time. Is that something you guys would consider appealing to try to get him available for the first half Saturday?
Yeah, there's really no process for that. I'll talk with the league, and certainly we submit every week a clip or two or three, depending on how you want to approach it. I'm sure every coach does it differently, but there's really nothing you can do to appeal it to where it would be turned around to have him back. So he'll be out the first half.
Coach Grubb kind of hinted that Jordan Mims might be coming back next year. Are you having those conversations with some of the seniors? And I guess everyone's kind of wondering about Jay Kaner.
Yeah, I think just there's not the final. I don't think anyone that may be in the process of trying to figure it out, I'm talking about the players, really truly knows, and I don't expect them to. I want them focused on playing football now. Yes, there are things that you have to plan ahead for as a coaching staff, but we would hope that we're a strong enough and deep enough program to where the next guys that have that opportunity are coming up and ready, and then we fill in the pieces just like any other recruiting cycle in the months of January until August. And so I'm hopeful that all those guys are coming back. I really am. But I want them doing what they need to do, just like we said a year ago. There were guys that were ready to move on and go on to careers and things like that. And, I think the experiences that these guys are having this year, after last year, it was hard. It was a hard experience last year. This year is different. They're feeling the excitement again and love football. They loved it last year, which is why they're obviously back now. They love, I think, the team and the chemistry, and I think that care for one another is just something that they realize only lasts so long. You only get these years and you never get them back. And they really realize, I think our team has a mature sense of that, and which is why I think, and I'm very hopeful that a lot of them will come back, because there's more memories to be had.
You touched on how difficult last year was, and one of those would be the loss against New Mexico. Yep. Is there extra motivation this week? I know there's motivation to bounce back against the loss to Boise, but is there a little bit extra fuel for these guys?
Yeah, that just adds to it, right? That just adds to it. That was not our finest moment last year. I think about the craziness we were going through, that no one will really probably ever know about within, most of it, about 95% of it centered, probably 99% of it centered around COVID. But that wasn't our finest moment, and we get that opportunity to get back out there, and they're a team that's doing a lot of the same things, a lot of things offensively and defensively that take a lot of work and preparation to prepare for. It is different. Coach Grubb talked about Rocky Long's offense or defense. You talk about what they do offensively, and with different quarterbacks. I see on the depth chart, who's on there, and that's not, who's been playing the last couple of weeks. And so we got to be ready for a lot of different things, because the way they attack you is not like most other unconventional programs, both offensively and defensively.
Coach William Inge revealed that some defensive players wanted to practice yesterday because of how eager they were to move on from Saturday. Was that kind of a common sentiment among the team, is wanting to practice and flush away whatever happened against Boise?
Yeah, I think they're eager to get back to work. They knew we weren't going to practice, but I think they're ready. There is a mindset where it's like, let's get going. And it's just that makes you proud, because they understand that the way to get back is and get the new feelings going again is to go to our sanctuary, which is on the practice field. And Coach McKeefrey just said that the lift was, there was motivation in the lift yesterday again. Whether it was pushing the stress or pushing the feelings out, taking it out on the weights in the weight room, and the frustration there, or a combination of that and just wanting to get better. And I think that's really what it comes down to. And our guys have been, I think, totally believing what you try to get them to believe over the course of a year and over your course as a staff here, and that's that just there are no shortcuts, and I think they really believe that, and doing it together is the best way to do it as well.
Coach, the 17 seniors you mentioned, are they all players that have no eligibility remaining?
Yes, that's the only seniors that we are going to be recognizing are the guys that have 0, and that's, it gets tricky. I even put it up on the board yesterday just to make sure, and I've gone over this with the staff, since the beginning of the season. Are these the exact guys at each position? And double check. And I put it up there one more time just because there are guys that I've heard week 2 or 3 of the season when they do an introduction to someone, they say, well, I think I'm a junior. The COVID year throws everyone off. And then does it mean I don't have a redshirt year? No, last year didn't count in any way. And so there are 17 guys that have 0 eligibility left after this year.
And you're in a unique situation as a second-year head coach that has been through most of the process for a lot of these seniors. Just could you speak on some of the things that stand out about this group?
Yeah, the things that stand out are guys. You got guys like Kevin Atkins, who was here before I was here, and saw the first turnaround and the first wave of success. Went through a transition with head coaching. He was one of the first guys that I called because I just remember what Kevin was all about and the vibe he had, even though I was an offensive coordinator and he was on the defensive side. And the support that just those guys have had, guys like Kevin, it's off the charts. He's a guy I can go to anytime and just be completely real. And I think that's the way most of this senior class is. I can go to even Tyson Maeva, who's on the exact opposite end of it, and be completely real and expect a fully honest answer that only has the team first mindset at stake. And I mean, it's Ronnie. I mean, a lot's been said about that, and I never want to overlook it and take it for granted. But what he did coming in and what we did together. Just you have a lot of feelings for these guys in different ways, and then there's the unsung heroes, that just every day come to practice. I think of guys like Kenny Gagnon, who's a walk-on, who's just been here a long time and is going to do everything he can when he lines up on a special team and is just going to run as hard as he possibly can. I've made a comment to the entire team about Deontay Perry, who is a guy that gets on the defense on this field for defense, but he was an offensive running back when I first got here, and our list was about 9 deep at running back. And seeing kind of who we were going with and figuring out that this is really where he still wanted to be, he moved to the defensive side. And if there is a guy that pours everything into the game plan that probably doesn't see the field as much, it's him. Special teams, when we're doing a walkthrough Fridays and Saturdays, you can say any number on a special teams unit or ask a position and what that number is, and he will say it without even hesitation. And I said something to him again this last week about just how impressive that is. It shows how important it is, and those guys are gonna battle, and this is important to them to finish strong.
And lastly, for me, you had 3 true freshmen that saw the field for the first time last week. Just can you, from my understanding,
who would that be? Let's see.
Julian, Jalen Williams, and
Julius, you're saying?
Julius, and Alzillian Hamilton.
Yeah.
Just in general with the 4-game redshirt, how is that affecting game planning for the final games here?
Yeah, and it's we've had some guys, and there's a little bit of rotation with a couple other guys. Malik Brooks has been out there a little bit. Julian Neal. Yeah, and then Julius, I guess, had already played a game. So I see. Yeah, when you said Julian, I was thinking of Julius, but he played a little bit too. So there are certainly, that's the piece of it, and especially as you get here late in the year, there's just a few more dings as Coach Grubb, and especially Coach Grubb alluded to, and having those guys ready and getting those reps. Number one, it gives you a chance to coach them up on a little different, higher level rather than just scout team. It gives them another level of investment into their day-to-day routine, gets them excited, right, about what they're going to have maybe the opportunity to do on Saturdays. And, Mazzillion, he was out there right away and, went out there and just did a really nice job in a special teams play, here and there. And so, I'm proud of what the character is of that group. They've been really patient. They understand that, there would be more freshmen that would be playing for us if we wouldn't have had the extra COVID year, because a lot of these guys would be gone. And, that's what the mental side of it is where it's hard for them, because a lot of guys think within my first year or two, I'm going to play some, but it was hard this year because so many veteran players were back, all the super seniors in particular. So, those guys staying motivated, those guys working hard, we're able to utilize their efforts and some of the strengths that they actually bring, and help us in a role here and there to give us fresh legs. To got to trust them too, right? And so that's where throughout the course of the season, you evaluate them every single day, because they're taking those special teams reps with a 2 or a 3 or even a 4 unit. And they've shown that they're ready to go.
Coach, kind of jumping off that, with a few true freshmen playing in this game, and you mentioned the players eager to get back to work, with the outcome of what happened on Saturday, do you anticipate any position battles, any changes to the depth chart this week, maybe get some other guys some opportunities?
I don't think so. I think you've seen C.J. Sanders playing more the last couple of weeks. He's really done a nice job, at corner, and heavily involved in special teams. I'm trying to think if there's any other spots. Is there any spots in particular that you've seen, Andrew, just in general?
No, I was just asking in general. Get some other guys some playing time.
I can't think of too many other spots, really. I think that, it's really based on health and who the next man up is, but nothing besides that. So,
gotcha. We did see Abe Montano handle the kickoff duties.
Yeah.
Was that design?
Yeah, I just feel like as the season goes on, and we know this going into the year, we've talked about it. When you're kicking off, and I think I talked about this even maybe Oregon before, during, and after that week when Caesar was kind of going through his thing, is that when you're scoring points and you're kicking field goals and kicking extra points, and then you're also kicking off, I think there comes a point where even though we do what we call a pitch count with the kickers in practice, to where they're not overuse, I think there is a little bit of where that happens and your kickoffs aren't quite as deep. And I thought we felt that a little bit happening in the San Diego State game, just with hang times. And I mean, every kick we track every kick with the depth and the distance, the location of the kick, the height, as far as the hang time. And we just felt like Abe has been fresh. And I thought he did a really nice job. Got some touchbacks there, and that's a big deal. I think it's led to just, again, it's less hits that the rest of the kickoff team has to take too, right? So, we feel good about our cover unit when the kick is where it's supposed to be. But, it's just less hits that some of those guys have to have. And we know that the ball's going to be on the 25-yard line and no further than that.
It's been brought up a couple of times, Coach, by you in particular as well, how you still can get to the Mountain West Championship game. You don't control your own destiny, but whether you like it or not, you're going to be scoreboard watching. Do you care who wins between Nevada and San Diego State? Do you pay any attention to that? I
mean, I really don't, because I think that you see so many close games in the conference. There's I've said a couple weeks ago, there is a high level of football being played, I think, right now, with all the programs that were good last year. San Jose is one of them. I mean, they lose a really close game again to San Diego State and now Nevada. They're the conference, the champions from last year. Returned not everyone, but a big portion of their key guys. And, I think that you see that high-level football is being played. I think anyone can beat anyone. I think at the schedules I have looked at the schedules of those two. For the first time all year, I threw some standings on the board just so the guys understand that, hey, there's still a lot of football to be played. Most teams have to play 3 games. We only got to play 2, so they think, well, the season's almost over. But there's a lot of football left to be played across the whole conference, and you never know. And I just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to worry about what we can control and take care of business, on our Saturday this week, and then we worry about the next one.
All right, Coach, I got to ask about the melee that happened in the stand Saturday night. Not assuming you've seen video of this, not sure if you saw what was happening. I know Boise was on the other end trying to score. Your thoughts on just the ugly scene out there?
Yeah, so I did not realize during the game any of it. Honestly, my wife said something Saturday after the game real quick, and I honestly just kind of didn't realize it was, as significant as it was. Really, I've been really focused along with the coaching staff and the players on trying to just worry about putting everything from the Boise State game to bed, and really getting a really hard jump start on New Mexico. Understanding that probably this question would be brought up this morning, I did look into it a little bit more to understand, and I think just in general, I know what the Red Wave, I know what our valley, our community is all about, and I know that this program, it's run from top to bottom with class, and the people that support it and the people that come to our games are the same way. Unfortunately, you have an incident, and you got to make sure. We got to make sure that we do everything we can to not have it happen again. Because we want Saturdays to be for the dogs, but we want Saturdays to be a place where me and my family and our kids come and can really enjoy an awesome Saturday of watching, being entertained, having a good time, and it's just I know we're. One incident is not representative of who we are as a whole valley, as a community, and what has typically been the case. I guess in my years, I don't remember anything like this ever happening. I'm sure there's things I don't know about that happen in the stands, but it's not reminiscent of who we are. I can be assured of that, and but doesn't mean that we can't do things to make it better. And I know our administration is doing everything they can. I was made aware of that, and had a lot of discussions, a lot of things to make sure that doesn't happen again. But I want Saturdays to be a place where a family can come, and I tell our guys this. I want the 3 and 4, probably more like 6 and 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds who come out and watch Jake Haener throw a football to go home after the game and flip on the backyard lights and throw on some jersey that looks like Jake Haener and paint a number 9 on his white T-shirt or whatever it is, and see what happens on Saturdays, and it'd be an inspiration for them to want to go out and someday be a Bulldog. And I know I'm rambling about it a little bit, but that's how I feel about what sports is. I feel like sports is such a uniting piece in so many ways. I wouldn't have the confidence, the things that are characteristics of myself if it wasn't for my experiences throughout all my years, in the game of football or whatever activity it might be. And I just want us to have a great environment to where it's fun to be there, and there's never a concern of something like happened on Saturday ever happening again.
What would you say to those fans who just come and maybe want to I don't want to say they want to start trouble, but they're starting trouble? I mean, what would you say to somebody so this doesn't happen again?
Well, I guess I would like to choose to believe that someone's not coming here to specifically cause trouble, and that we just got to be smarter and understand that that's not going to be accepted here. That's not what we stand for. And 99% of who was in the stadium, more than that probably, came here because of sheer entertainment. And so, we really don't want you here if that's what you're coming for. I will say this: I had some family friends that were here this weekend, and they had an amazing time. and I don't even know exactly where they sat and all that. But I mean, they had an amazing time tailgating in the afternoon, and they're like, "This is what college football is all about. You guys have a special place." And obviously the game didn't end how we wanted it to, but everything else that they said this place represents was super cool. Just the people they interacted with while they were tailgating, up until who they sat with and how loud the stadium was when we took the field, and just that environment. This place is special. We all know that.
Coach, is there anything you told the team since Saturday specifically, or any technique you use to forget about the game on Saturday and pick up the pieces and move on?
Yeah.
I mean, do you use psychology? Do you bring in your specialist in that?
Oh,
regard?
I see. No, I think the foundation of how you respond to these situations goes back to January. I really do. I think what you do in January, February, March, and you talk about adverse moments, and you orchestrate situations to put your guys into, and though each of those things, and on top of continue to just talk about being together and reinforcing relationships that we have, to where there's never finger pointing and there's belief and trust that the guy next to you is doing absolutely everything he can. There's so many elements that we just talk about in our program that when they're rock solid and they are strong, the foundation and all those pieces are what really gets you through it. There's little things like, you've heard me talk about the 24-hour rule, and that's a win or loss thing, and we have to move on, and that's certainly the case here. And tell the truth Sunday, you hear that being talked about, and so there's little pieces that we do each and every week that help us get through the really, really good times where it's over the top awesome, and then the really tough times that we're going through. But I think the foundation, and then who you have in your program, who you've surrounded yourself with, what their motivation, what their, how deeply they're driven, that's really what it takes to get through, these heartbreaking moment, when you didn't live up to the expectations you had for yourself. There is no one more disappointed than these guys. They're the ones that invest all week long in hours and hours of film work, practice time, treatments to be able to even get on the football field, just all of that stuff. And that's aside from an academic piece, a social piece, that they also have to live as college students. So we'll get through it. I know I heard different meetings. I heard it said different ways, but the sun came up on Sunday. I heard it said it looked like it barely was coming up, but it came up. And we got to look at all the things that are positive and the blessings we do have, and keep forging ahead. And these guys love playing football together. They love each other, and they get an opportunity to do that. And as disappointed they are, they're going to keep fighting.
Thanks, Coach.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Yep.